Hi. So I want to talk about my project for this semester, which is called the Oakland as a Family Initiative. And to start, the city of Oakland has a really crazy history. It's kind of interesting because it's right near San Francisco. So a lot of the entrepreneurs who were interested in startup life ended up not being able to afford San Francisco, and they all moved to Oakland, which was the nearby city. However, Oakland was a very poor city which suffered from a lot of income inequality already. And what's happened is that when people who are entrepreneurs who want to create startups and business and industry end up not being able to afford San Francisco, they decide, oh, well, I'll move to Oakland. And that's happening to the point where rent is so high in Oakland, many people who have less money and less resources are being utterly kicked out of the region because they can't afford any of the rent that's there. So with my company and our project, we wanted to really address that this is an issue and work on bettering income inequality in the area. So the approach we decided was to see Oakland as a family, as is said in the name. And the goal of this is essentially to get stakeholders to talk to one another who wouldn't normally be talking. So we work with partners in the government, in business, and in the community, especially those who do suffer from income inequality the most. And we put them on an equal playing field basis. And our role as a company is to facilitate structured conversations between all of these partners to discuss specific results which can be bridged between the intersection of government, business, and community activism. So the goal of it is essentially to spurn off other companies, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the area. We do want to see entrepreneurs be inspired by these types of talks and come up with new ways to solve the problems regarding income inequality. Some of the major problems regarding income inequality as why it stays the way it is that it is a cycle, and the cycle of poverty, when you've been in poverty your whole life, you're used to it and you almost don't notice. And one of the biggest problems with that is that in certain places in Oakland that are poor, there's up to a 50% rate of PTSD, where half the kids in high schools have PTSD. Clinical PTSD, such as someone dying in the past year or seeing an incident of gang violence, and that can really mess with someone's head. And studies have shown that when that happens, you're more likely to get depression, anxiety, not graduate, get involved in criminal activity. So this is a cycle that's happened in generations in Oakland. And really, one of the major things that our company strives to do is to create that civil discourse to get people to talk to one another about how we can solve these problems, because there are a lot of core issues and we can't solve it in one fell swoop, but just starting that conversation is really crucial. And that's the baseline of our company, because some of the major issues are happening because the entrepreneurs who are moving into the community don't understand the plight of the Oakland natives who have been living there for generations and who are basically getting kicked out, because entrepreneurs who move in there tend to be wealthier and then it raises prices up. But they have no idea that's happening. So even just starting the conversation and getting people educated about that topic makes it less likely they're going to continue purveying that. And also, there have been instances of police brutality, of violence that have occurred in the area, and historical racism and historically racist policies. So there are a large amount of people who are impoverished who don't trust the government, and that makes it a lot harder for the government to communicate with them and consider types of policies that would work for them. And when the stakeholders aren't talking to one another, things aren't happening. So essentially, our baseline goal is to get them to talk to one another and to facilitate that conversation. We are going to be using Zoom since it's COVID-19 time. That's our goal. And we're going to be providing a space where people can speak, kind of like a town hall forum, but much more structured and much smaller, where we will get one stakeholder from each category to talk to one another about the problems they're experiencing in their lives in order to come to results. And our tangible goals are to create startups out of this, are to create government policies out of this, and are to make community members feel more heard, because there are so many issues in Oakland and a lot of them do cross-reference. But the essential goal of doing this is to reduce the income inequality. So that's what we'll be focusing on with our stakeholders and partners. The goal is to create solutions that will make people more equal in the region. And that's what we hope to see in the future. So hopefully it works, but that's essentially what we're doing.